St. Paul's was absolutely, it was absolutely a mecca. It was attracting people from all over the country, all over the world, in fact.
You think it's more than just a bit of skanking, but he's like, oh, actually, yeah, this is black music. And both in the city, but also nationally, I think, a sense that blackness was cool.
The famous music that's come out of Bristol has been a blend of, or a build upon black music. How did that happen? How did black culture assimilate in that way to make a Portishead or a Tricky or a Ronnie Size, to make a Banksy?
Black British youngsters and some of the elders, the contributions that they have done to Britain has not been recognised amongst their own.
If you look at the history of Bristol, Bristol is a city of resistance.
To talk about the uniqueness of Bristol, why the statue is toppled here, maybe not, and not in London, opens up a wider conversation about what is Bristol and what is Black Bristol.
I just see Bristol as fire.
Do you feel British?
Good question.
They call us the Windrush generation, called here to rebuild this great nation. We came in thousands across the sea, but the British people did not agree with their queen. We are the Windrush generation, not welcomed with open arms, but did what we had to remain strong. We are the Windrush generation. We built paths and led the way for future generations.
I'm the first born from the Windrush generation that came to England.
I've lived here all my life. I still live 5 minutes away from the house where I was born. I just felt very community focused, very free.
You felt kind of the sense of community, a sense of protection in a way.
Today you can walk down Grosvenor Road and it's pretty quiet. But when you had the Black and White Cafe, when you had people from the third sector, people shopping, people coming into the area, there was a constant flow of really different kinds of people.
I came to Bristol in 1960 in October. In November, I would have been 18. I came here with my typewriter and my shorthand book because that's what I was doing in Jamaica. I was going to a college where I was studying shorthand and typewriting. I thought all the houses were factories because there was smoke coming out of them, and I didn't know of that in the West Indies.
Yeah, I'm Rubber, that's my nickname, given to me when I was a teenager. Yeah, so I loved dancing a lot in the parties around here. I moved here in St. Paul's in 1964. Came here at the age of 7. In them days when you know, as a black family, it wasn't easy to settle.
We all had chores to do. That's priority number one. Once Mum and Dad was happy, we can go out and play, you know.
It's not there anymore, but off of Brook Road on East Grove, we used to have what we called the bomb site, which was basically venture playground, but it had that red clay and you had the tyres that you would jump in and swing through and all kinds of things like that.
I've got really good memories of growing up in Easton. My dad had a restaurant in St. Paul's, Jamaican good foods. Me and my sister used to go over there every Saturday.
We was all young, you know, and we had Irish next door one side, we had the Italian. It was all nationalities in those days. You didn't know nothing about racism, nothing. It's only when you get older you come to this racism thing.
Adults would shout N-word at you, or they would shout abusive language at you, and you were there as a young child. We had a brick came through the front window whilst we were sitting watching TV.
I went to the Labour Exchange and they asked me a lot of questions. And one of the questions that she asked me was, what would I like to do while I'm here as a job? I said I want to be a stenographer. And there's a smile on her face. And I thought, why is she smiling? And then she whispered in my ears and said, they don't use black people in offices here.
I remember running home saying, Mom, I don't want to go to that school no more. They call me monkey, call me all those names.
I remember probably being about 8 or 9, my dad would usually get me a taxi home. And we stopped at Hummingbird Books, and Catherine LeQuant, she handed my dad over this big kind of brown bag. And I was thinking, what's going on? And said, when you're old enough to understand, read this. And then obviously, as soon as I got home, I opened it up and it was called Black Americana. Yeah, he passed away just hours after my 10th birthday, heart attack. That obviously planted something in me.
I've seen friends of mine, some of them have passed now, where school teachers used to lift them up. Come on, golly! Beating them with a cane or a dap in front of the whole class.
Mom told me a story of when they arrived in Bristol. They had a vigilante come knock on their door saying, if you come into town, you're going to get beaten up. She was telling me if I took me into town, and they beat up my dad and that, you know. The moral of the story was, you know, they overrode that, and that story stuck with me till today, and that put me in good stead, really, you know. Just stand and deliver, to be honest.
People said enough is enough. Guy Bailey, being a youngster, applying for a job at the Bristol Omnibus Company, and then it being quite obvious that once they knew he was black, the job was no longer available. So that is what led to the Bristol bus boycott, literally boycotting the buses and doing the demonstrations, the marches, the placards, until, well, we need to change the law. So that's where that came in, the Race Relations Act, which then led to the Equalities Act.
Coloured school leavers from St Paul's have to try for more than twice as many jobs as their white counterparts. The new Race Relations Bill may help them, but in spite of it, they know that the better the post, the greater will be the resistance.
Those people were able to support the community in a way that was positive and uplifting.
One Saturday in the middle of an English summer, the people of the St Paul's area in Bristol put on the parade of their first festival. It rained all day long.
Carnival started as like the community being a bit resilient and running it themselves without no funding.
St Paul's Carnival, which kind of was like the highlight of the year.
It's different to our parents, their journey, and ours as what they call the Windrush children, or the children who came here in the 60s. Our journey is totally different to our parents. Them, who grew up in the Caribbean in the 50s, the 40s, their perception of England, they are English. We are British. And anything that England tells you is right. It's been a learning, serious journey about racism and also how the West Indian or the Caribbean parents dealt with it, which they still haven't dealt with it, because a lot of their children are still in that trauma.
It was very difficult for young lads from the Caribbean or Africa or India or wherever you're from to get a steady job.
The community at the time, the black community, feeling they were not being dealt with right by the police. And that had come to a boiling point.
I was very small just after the first uprisings, which people would also call the St Paul's riots.
I remember it vividly. I remember the tensions.
Lots of people got involved.
I went to predominantly white school, and I remember saying, well, the people are rioting for a reason. And I just remember being shut down, saying, no, they're all criminals. I was thinking, they're not, they're people I know.
On the street, the police would stop them and search them unnecessarily, and would sort of pull them up for suspicion. And at the police station, they the youth are assumed that they have done something.
For young people, they started pouring money after the riots and trying to do certain things.
The uprisings in the 80s, which is one of the things that has given us this centre.
Some of those organisations began as unconstituted groups, then they got funded from local councils.
I used to go to places like Trinity. It was a black-led organisation, and they'd got the building in order to have a space for young people.
Dockland Settlement was the start of the foundation for a lot of the young people.
And I can remember one day I was at home and I decided I'm going to go. That's when my life changed. And I saw 3 people, one black guy playing the drum, and 2 white guys, one playing a bass guitar and one playing a normal guitar. I'm listening to these guys play music and something wasn't right. And I just went and picked up this guitar and started, no, chord instructions, you need to do this. But that's how I ended up becoming music director at Arts Opportunity Theatre. You've heard of Smith and Mighty, Rob Smith. I was his music director. We were teaching, these are the people who was there. We were doing all these things with these young people. Some of them have gone on. You know, if you talk about Ronnie Size, his brother was Carl Williams, who was the singer.
And of course, thinking about these big pioneers, like we can't forget the importance of these dance floors, like Blue Mountain, like Star and Garter. These are places of encounter where really different kids got together. Trinity as well, people who became the kind of cultural leaders, who became your Dub Chasm, became your Massive Attack.
Yes, I came to the Eastern Community Centre for the first time. I think Ronnie Size was playing at the time, but I remember coming in and just realising that there was this, it was like heavy jungle. I was at something which was the start of a movement. I mean, I think they won the Mercury Prize, won the Mercury Prize 2 or 3 years after that. So you can see that how fast the trajectory, starting it as a thing here.
At the age of 16, I was on the streets of St. Paul's. My stepfather kicked me out for being kind of like getting myself in gangs, basically at the time. I lived on the streets and the Rastafarians took me up, in fact. A lot of people feared that sound because it was all rough Rasta men. But they took me and 2 other youngsters up. They took us off the streets, 3 of us, was under pressure. There used to be a crack in the window, and we used to sleep on one bed together, whole huddled together. So it was hard, and we used to meet up every Sunday at what you now call Kuumba. But it's them who started to make me know, "Oi, be proud to be black. You're African, we are the first." Made me more proud of myself.
Yeah, so this is the main Kuumba Centre. The decor is mainly done by Sisnwani, so in terms of like the materials and stuff like that, you'll get that kind of like how the community was back in the day. They kind of dress it like that. A lot of political conversations have happened in this hall.
I used to go and watch the Anderson family. So they learned all the original Caribbean dances. So they got this opportunity to try African dance and invited a company from London to come to the Kuumba to teach. And I would come home from dancing and I would, you know, be hungry. I'd open the drawer, take my bun and cheese out, yeah, and the rats eat it. So I had to cut the piece where the rat eat and eat the rest, yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. On that particular night, I remembered, oh, they're having this thing at Kuumba, yeah, this dance African thing. I think I'm gonna go out there and try and get some food tomorrow. So I went to Kuumba, sat down. They said, "Do you want to come and dance?" I said, "No." Because even though I could express myself in the blues party, I was still not confident about, dancing like that. And then I saw them do some very athletic move. Yeah, let's put it that way. And I said, "How did you do that?" They said, "The drum told me to do it." I go, "Get away." I had a drum, and as they say the drum plays this, and then when it plays this language, you have to do that particular movement. Okay, all right, let me have a go. Changed my life.
Black History Month in Bristol was organised actually from the Kuumba Centre with very little involvement from Bristol City Council. And Bristol City Council involvement came later on.
We used to go to the Empire Sports Club. That was amazing because it was like a family gym. It was good at all round sports, you know. And I excelled in rugby. I started playing rugby. When I was about 14, 15, was playing for Bristol, you know, Bristol Rugby Club.
I was very good at football. I got involved with Bristol Rovers. My father, with the assistance of my mother, started the first New Testament Church of God in Bristol. The problem I had was I'm the main keyboard player in the church, and there's a football game on Saturday when there's convention. I'm Mr. Smith's son. So I couldn't go to the football game and drama. No, there was nothing like that. It was, unless you did it in school. And now there's so much people in Bristol through Arts Opportunities Theatre and through the gift that we had, which was never recognized as youngsters. or suppressed, but a lot of them went on to become musicians, acting.
I went from rugby into martial arts. I started off doing kung fu. And I went into karate. I've ended up now being obviously a British champion, fought for England in karate and things like that. And everything is just to be a role model.
The first teacher we had was a man called Ben Badu. Within 3 years, we were one of the best group in the country. In fact, we're the pioneer for African dance in this country, Ekame. When the company folded, we moved to London, some of us, to start the group up there. And we were there recruiting people from off the streets in the job centre and teaching them. We trained them for a year before we came out with our first performance. We went on to be the top group in Europe. You find that money is a stumbling block. So if you can't get the money, what you got to do? Try and do it yourself.
African Caribbean arts for the whole of the Southwest. That's what Kwumba was at that time.
So when we heard recently of Kwumba Centre going to court against Bristol City Council, being told they're trespassers after 10 years, taking our elder Rastafarian women to court, it takes people to constantly keep the foot there to remind them, hang on a minute.
When people stop investing, it becomes a problem.
The political climate change, so the focus change. And now the government or the local authority shifts their priority.
I did get in a bit of trouble, but I didn't take it to the extreme. I learned from it, and then as I got older, I thought, I like to do the job for younger people. I can relate to them. I got a young man now, his name is Ellis Genge. Didn't make it much in school, but I was his mentor from the age of 12. He's now 27, and I kept him in school by being his mentor. He got signed up by Bristol Rugby. He went better than that, he achieved. He's an England player, he went for England Rugby. And he just recently come back from Australia with the British Lions. I recently had a bout of prostate myself. And Ellis Genge was the first one to ring me from Australia to see if I was okay. And that's someone who you mentor, and I think, wow. And he's a superstar now in the rugby world,
It gives me joy to see our community working together. It gives me joy when I go on the reparations march and they say, oh, well, black people can't plan and they can't do this. And you look and you just see a sea of black people. Well, somebody planned this.
My aspiration is to look at ways in which my people could turn around and look and try and thrive in Easton and Eastville.
And to bring more understanding and stop this silly racism business and separation business that they're going on with, it's best to get to the children, as we know.
When I went through that and filming people and hearing the stories, sometimes I've sat there and cried. It's painful. They opened up so many doors. They've gone through so much things.
I found myself on a tour bus, lying down, looking at the stars as I'm driving through the window and saying, what the hell? Look at my life, how it's changed. Yeah? I was in St. Paul's sharing food with rats. And now look where I can't believe it.
69 now, I'm 70 next year. I've had many opportunities to be promoted in jobs, and so I've always turned them down because I've always liked to work with people, young people,
Do I feel British? Growing up with my father and understanding the journey that they've been through, no.
So I would say in many ways I do feel British. This is where I was born. I've got a love for my city in some regards.
It makes me feel proud living in Bristol and call myself a Bristolian, because there's so much of us elderly people that have gone through so much and have done so much. I'm still Jamaican. I haven't changed that, but I am Jamaican living in this country so many years, and that's okay. I'm still a Jamaican.
Maybe some of us should also consider that we shouldn't put all of our eggs in the British basket. We need to be thinking about other places.
I wouldn't sound true British, but Bristolian first. Definitely Bristolian first. British, that's a big one. I ain't got an answer for that one. Definitely ain't got an answer for that one.